30 meters high, its interior walls entirely clad in hundreds of tons of pure gold, with massive bronze columns 8 meters tall, each weighing dozens of tons. Floors of polished cypress, walls paneled with fragrant cedar imported from the distant mountains of Lebanon, and in the heart of the Holy of Holies, towering golden cherubim with wings spanning the room. Solomon's temple was not merely a building. It stood as the most magnificent, most opulent, and most technically sophisticated structure of the entire ancient world. It took 7 years of relentless labor to complete, consuming more gold than any other known edifice of its era. Yet what continues to astonish scholars and engineers today is the foundation. Enormous stone blocks, some weighing hundreds of tons, the equivalent of scores of modern elephants, all quarried, transported, and fitted with extraordinary precision without cranes, iron pulleys, or wheeled machinery. How did ancient workers achieve this feat 3,000 years ago? Modern calculations often fall short, leaving experts in awe. This was no ordinary construction. It bordered on the impossible. In this account, you'll discover the materials, methods, and profound secrets behind Solomon's masterpiece, and why, even now, no one has fully replicated what the wise king of Israel accomplished. Solomon demanded nothing less than perfection. As recorded in the first book of Kings, chapter 5, verse 17, he ordered great and costly stones for the foundation of the house of the Lord. 80,000 quarrymen toiled in the hills surrounding Jerusalem, rising before dawn to face the perilous task of extracting flawless blocks from the living rock. They could not simply hammer away. Each stone required precise cuts, perfect angles, and smooth surfaces to interlock seamlessly. Adding to the challenge was a sacred command. No sound of iron tools could echo at the building site itself. 1 Kings chapter 6 verse 7 states that the temple was built of stones prepared at the quarry, so that no hammer, axe, or any iron tool was heard in the house while it was being constructed. Every block left the distant quarries fully finished, shaped, polished, and ready for placement on Mount Moriah. The technique was brilliantly simple, yet profoundly effective. Workers first marked the desired fracture line, scoring it with harder stones against the limestone. Small holes were drilled along the line, into which dry wooden wedges were inserted. Water was then poured over them. The wood swelled, generating immense pressure that split the rock cleanly after hours or days. No explosives, no clanging metal, just the quiet crack of stone yielding to nature's force. But splitting was only the start. Skilled artisans then shaped and refined each massive block, guided by markings etched directly onto the stone. Hebrew letters, numbers, and symbols indicating its exact position in the temple. Blueprints on papyrus did not exist. Instructions were carved into the material itself. A single error could render hundreds of tons useless. Danger lurked everywhere. Sudden collapses, rolling blocks crushing paths down mountainsides, no safety gear or medical aid nearby. Injuries often meant death. Yet day after day, the workforce persisted. Israelites served in rotating shifts, earning wages in time to return home. But remnants of conquered peoples faced forced labor, as noted in 1 Kings chapter 9. Harsh punishment awaited any who refused. Once prepared, the true test began, moving these colossal stones across rugged terrain without modern machinery. 70,000 carriers were assigned solely to this grueling task. The method relied on ingenuity. Earthen ramps for elevation, thick tree trunks as rollers beneath the blocks, and ropes of braided plant fibers as strong as a man's arm. Picture the scene. Hundreds of men gripping ropes, a foreman barking rhythmic commands: pull, halt, reposition rollers, pull again. Progress was agonizingly slow, mere inches or feet per hour, with a single block taking weeks to travel just a few miles. Yet Solomon imposed strict deadlines. The temple had to rise in precisely 7 years. Upon arrival at the site, the rule of silence intensified the difficulty. If a stone did not fit perfectly, no iron chisel could adjust it. It had to be dragged back and retried. Overseers scrutinized every measurement, every angle, blending technical precision with deep reverence. Stone alone could not suffice. The temple demanded the finest timber. Lebanese cedar, renowned for its strength, aromatic scent, and resistance to decay, was the wood of kings across the ancient Near East. But these majestic trees grew over 120 miles away in Lebanon's highlands, across valleys, rivers, and hostile lands. Solomon forged an alliance with Hiram, king of Tyre, trading vast quantities of wheat and olive oil annually for cedar and skilled Phoenician craftsmen. 10,000 Israelites journeyed north in shifts, 1 month felling trees, 2 months home, working alongside expert Sidonian loggers to bring down centuries-old giants without fatal mistakes. Felled trunks were bound into massive rafts and floated across the Mediterranean to the port of Joppa, modern-day near Tel Aviv. From there, the final 60 miles to Jerusalem repeated the stone transport ordeal: rollers, ropes, and human endurance. Imagine the vast construction site on Mount Moriah, thousands maneuvering enormous stones and logs, ropes taut, rollers shifting. Yet the most striking feature was not the activity, but the profound silence. No hammer strikes, no metallic clangs resounded, only muffled creaks of wood, strained breaths, and whispered commands. This divine mandate elevated labor to worship. To ensure flawless assembly, masons inscribed symbols on stones in the quarries. Upon delivery, workers simply matched markings and slotted them in. No on-site adjustments needed. Only wooden levers, wedges, and ropes were permitted. 3,300 overseers patrolled constantly, with higher officials reporting to the king. It operated like a disciplined army: strict order, rewards for excellence, severe consequences for failure. Why enforce such quiet? The temple was no mere palace. It was God's dwelling place among his people. Iron's noise was deemed profane, disrupting the sanctity. Every silent stone placed became an act of devotion, preparing a space where heaven touched earth. If the stones and cedar already seemed extraordinary, the true splendor of Solomon's temple lay in its radiant gold, a glory that turned the entire structure into an earthly reflection of heaven itself. The Bible records that hundreds of tons of pure gold overlaid the interior alone, with the Holy of Holies, a perfect cube 20 cubits in every dimension, completely encased in hammered gold sheets. Not mere paint or thin foil, but thick plates of refined gold, meticulously beaten and affixed to the cedar panels. Walls, ceiling, floor, all gleamed like the heart of a sun, blinding visitors with divine brilliance. 2 massive cherubim, each 10 cubits high, stood guard over the Ark of the Covenant, their wings stretching across the room, touching opposite walls. Carved from olive wood and entirely overlaid with gold, they symbolized the majestic presence of God enthroned above the mercy seat. Yet who could craft such wonders? Israel lacked sufficient masters for bronze and gold on this scale, so Solomon summoned Hiram, sometimes called Huram Abi, a master artisan from Tyre. As described in 1 Kings chapter 7, he was a man filled with wisdom, understanding, and skill in working bronze, the son of a Tyrian bronze worker and an Israelite widow. Under his direction, the temple's metalwork reached perfection. He cast the 2 monumental pillars, Jachin and Boaz, standing at the porch, each 18 cubits high, topped with ornate capitals of lilies and pomegranates, weighing dozens of tons in solid bronze. He fashioned the massive molten sea, a vast bronze basin held aloft by 12 oxen, along with countless vessels, shovels, and basins, all gleaming without flaw. The gold work was exhaustive. Furnaces roared day and night, consuming forests of fuel in distant foundries to avoid defiling the site. Workers heated gold ingots until malleable, then hammered them relentlessly on stone anvils into thin, uniform sheets. Hours for each piece, thousands required overall. Shifts rotated constantly, the heat scorched skin, burns were common, yet the men pressed on, knowing this labor was eternal. Solomon received 666 talents of gold annually, over 20 tons, from tribute, mines, and royal gifts. Much poured into the temple's altars, tables, lampstands, and even golden chains. Every surface, every utensil radiated purity. Behind this triumph stood unparalleled organization, nearly 180,000 workers in total, including quarrymen, carriers, carpenters, and metalworkers. 3,300 overseers enforced precision, supported by higher officials, all coordinated like a vast army under Solomon's command. Quarries dotted the hills, Lebanese forests supplied timber remotely, furnaces operated ceaselessly, every front synchronized to meet the 7-year deadline. In the 11th year of Solomon's reign, the final stones settled into place. Months later, during the Feast of Tabernacles, Israel gathered for dedication. Priests carried the ark into the Holy of Holies beneath the cherubim's wings. Then the supernatural descended. A thick cloud filled the temple, the Shekinah glory of the Lord, so intense that priests could not stand to minister. Fire consumed the offerings. Heaven had come to dwell in the house built by human hands, yet perfected by divine purpose. Solomon sacrificed 22,000 oxen and 120,000 sheep, a vast offering reflecting not just wealth, but profound awe. Solomon's temple endured as antiquity's supreme achievement, not merely for scale or treasure, but for its silent construction, disciplined multitude, and ultimate aim, manifesting God's presence among his people. Countless lives were spent in quarries, on ropes, amid furnaces, yet survivors witnessed the impossible. Stones, wood, and gold transformed into God's earthly throne. This is the enduring legacy. What seems beyond human limits becomes reality through faith, obedience, and divine favor. The temple whispered eternally, "The God of Israel makes a way where none exists, filling humble works with eternal glory."